we have the man himself from Blogging in the Boys, Mr. Dan Rogers. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back with you. It's been a minute, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hanging with you.
Yeah, this one is more peaceful terms. The last time was peaceful too, because the last time we got together we was debating, but you couldn't even tell it was a debate because we was so cordial. It was a relaxed disagreement. Like you couldn't even see that we was disagreement, because we last time Dan was on, we was talking about Kelly Moore. So, but this time we just talking about the Cowboys in general. Even better.
You're gonna bring that up.
Yeah, but like I say, this is more cordial. And shout out to Blogging in the Boys. Obviously, they are leaders in the space, video, as well as writing. Dan is one of your top guys. Can you give us a little background and introduce yourself to the people that's watching, sir?
Yeah. So I have been writing with Blogging the Boys for, last year was my 10-year mark. So this will be actually my 11th season with Blogging the Boys. And I have used to do a podcast called The Star Seminar. Not doing that anymore, but still writing and still tweeting. So, the Cowboys, it's a 365 thing for all of us. We all live it. So I'm just here with you, trying to share all our knowledge and all the excitement and disappointment that this team brings.
Man, so let's get your. We had a pretty interesting, crossroads this offseason in terms of decisions. And I think you've been doing a lot of great material on that. Let's just start with this general. What do you feel, and how do you feel about all these decisions that's coming up, and how crucial they are?
I feel okay. I feel like, it's a little different this year because we have a new coaching staff. So I expect things to go a little different. Just recent history, the Cowboys, typically the front office does a better job stocking the fridge, so to speak, for the new coordinator. So I think that part excites me. I think we'll see a little bit of activity, not a lot, and not what will make fans happy, which that just happens every year. So brace yourself if you're expecting some type of big type of moves, because the Cowboys people, they talk about how much money they have. Of course, restructuring will free up, but that's just restructuring. It's not like they have an abundance of cap. So Cowboys need to be careful with their spending, and this is what you'll always hear from me this time of year, and that's why I get no friends during this. So I'm the least popular person on social media right now because nobody wants to hear what I have to say about it. But I'm in tune with how this team operates. I know it. We may not like it, but I know what to expect. And personally, I'm one of the few people that, for the most part, agrees with this kind of risk-adverse, free agency style that Stephen Jones has employed since he's had more involvement with the team. So, but at the same time, I think they have good players. I like the players they have. They made some deals last season that's going to help us now. I think we've already seen the benefit of Javonte getting signed, and then George is soon to follow. So we should be happy about that. I really think that we should turn our attention to, can the coaching staff, both on offense and defense, do enough to help this team win? Because I have felt for many years, for the most part, this team does a really good job building the roster. Agree. That's what I feel, and I think this will be no different. And I think the opportunity will be there for the team if the Cowboys can just put things together with the coaching.
And I actually agree with you, Dan. I agree with you. Like, most front office get a bad rap of team building. It's not true. Like, this is the part, to me, this is the time of the season they're at their best, even with their value, way of doing it. Now, I did want to ask you a question, though, because you said you think they're going to do it the same. Now, Jerry said this year something that he usually doesn't say, right? and he was talking about breaking the bank. Right
Mhm.
now, usually he doesn't use term like that. Usually he'll say we're going to be passively aggressive, or he'll say we're going to be aggressive, but he'll throw kind of a disclaimer in there, like, because I think they have been like different in terms of going after free agents. They haven't been as aggressive in free agents. So you think they're going to stay kind of within their strategy of kind of like the passive aggressive this year? No shocks
So
potentially.
that's that's a great question, and I really think it's on all of our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Will this be different? And first up, I always will tell people to just be careful about
Mm-hmm.
what Jerry says, because I mean we're just 2 years removed from everyone expecting us to go all in when we learned that that's not what he was meant at all. But I want to say that I do feel like, as far as Jerry breaking the bank, I do think they're going to borrow a little more. I think we're going to see a little more spending that will obviously affect us, in future years, because they have to. I think they recognize the DAC window, and we all should. And it's the quarterbacks, they don't play forever. And Prescott, I feel like you can probably count on one hand. I hate to be negative, but that's probably what we're dealing with as far as how much longer he has. So the Cowboys will be foolish to just sit idle and not take advantage of it. So I think they have to take some risks there. So I do think you'll see a little bit more. I wouldn't be, if you're looking at like the Eagles and how they do it and void years, and don't expect things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cowboys will do some things, and I think it will leave us disappointed, but I really think that the front office will have done enough to really give them a shot, and that's really all we can ask for.
Facts.
So I think we could take time in this show, like just educate a bit, pull down a veil. So you say you don't want the Dallas Cowboys, to do like make the wrong type, or not the wrong, just be wise in their spending. And I think we just need to take the time to help Cowboy Nation understand that, like, your way of thinking and why this is important. Do you have like a trend that you see in the NFL and that we should be adverse to, and why we don't trend that way?
Well, I think the biggest thing, or the most obvious thing, is that you really need to limit free agent spending. You don't want to. I think that's where the data's out there, and I actually just tweeted something right before the show because people were already asking questions and coming back at me with with my feelings toward free agency. I really would ask people to go and do their homework and truly understand, get some data behind just what free agency does. And people will always point to this team and that team and look what they got here. Or Seattle, obviously, big, benefited from having a good year. But with every good team, there's so many other teams that have all these struggles. And if you look at it and you watch the data, it has a negative effect. There's just a lot of information that tells you that, and there's a reason. Teams will re-sign the teams closest to those players that know those players. They'll keep the good ones. That's not to say that everyone that is bad. I'm just saying there's just a reason for that, and the data is really profound. I don't think there's really much debate about it. Cowboy fans really want to believe this hope that if they would just spend a little more and stop with these $5 million players, go out there and give us a $15 million or something, that would change. Well, I don't think that's the way to go about it, because that's just not the recipe for winning. So I think the Cowboys have to try to fix things in other ways, and free agency is not it. So that's the big one for me. I don't really have a big formula. Obviously, I'm a big believer in drafting. If you do it well, I think the Cowboys are one of the better drafting teams. We can discuss about how good, especially in recent drafts. That's fair. But I still think, there's a way to go about it, and the Cowboys do a lot of things right when it comes to roster building, and that's what I want. We love their players. Every year we're excited about the CeeDee Lambs and the Dax and all these players. So, I really think that, fans would be really hard to say, I just don't think they have good players. I don't believe in Tyler Smith or something. If that's how you feel, that's fine. Clearly, we don't think that. So I just think it's a hard sell to think the Cowboys just aren't very good at getting good players, because they are. Go look at every year. I mean, just not that Pro Bowl is your metric, but look at just how many quality players the Cowboys have. So I just miss me with this Cowboys can't build a roster stuff, because I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. Totally. And you know what? It seemed like, Dan, it seemed like whatever side they put their toe in the water, they good at swimming. You know? So they usually put their toe in the water with the draft. So this year they put their toe in the water with free agents a lot more than they used to with Clark, right? You know, especially with the trade they did with Micah, and then going after Pickens. Usually we do stuff like that in crisis, but we did put our toe in that water. It just seemed like, you're right. I think we get a bad rap. The scouting department get a bad rap, a real bad rap. So now, and when we say stuff like that, yeah, we're not gonna have a lot of friends. We not, because I think you're right. I think a lot of Cowboy fans really do feel like the key to just getting over the hump is spending. And I think it's wisdom, to your point. I think it's, especially if you're trying to have some sustainable competitive teams. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's really what they do, is they really want to have every year to have a chance. I mean, they feel like if we can just get ourselves to the playoffs consistently, one of these years we'll get through. I mean, we'll have our time. That's what they feel. They want to be competitive every year. They're not just trying to be relevant for sales and profits and other. They want to have a good team every year, and whether people believe it or not, that's what they're trying to do. But what they won't do is overload for one year at the price of another. They've done that before, and they've learned their lessons. People, I think a lot of fans, maybe either, we didn't have social media back then, but really have forgotten some of the darker times where they just really buried themselves and Jerry was a gambler. He was trading and free agent spending and doing things, and it was terrible. I mean, I loathed the Cowboys front office during those times, but they've gotten a lot more disciplined, and I appreciate how they go about it now. So I feel like the Cowboys, they go about it the right way. They're making good moves. I mean, it's hard to argue with. I mean, Javonte was such a great free agent acquisition last year. Pickens was a great trade for the Cowboys. Amidst all the controversy of how stupid we were, and Pittsburgh, they know how to cut loose the receivers at the right time. Dallas are suckers. I mean, look, it's not. And so I feel like there's so many things you can look at the Cowboys that they've done that you have to be pretty proud of how they've approached it. And another one too, and I know the Micah trade is a giant conversation in itself, but I at least want to acknowledge that the Cowboys have basically said, we suck at getting a nose tackle. We can't do it. Free agency, whatever, draft, we can't do it. We're terrible. And they went in and they decided, we're going to go about it this way. And I feel like now all of a sudden we're in the best shape we've been in over a decade, I think, at the defensive tackle spot. And so I feel like they're at least acknowledging their own inadequacies, and they're attacking things. And if you don't like Quinnen Williams, I don't know what to say. I mean, there's just so many things you can point to that Cowboy fans should be happy about, and I just wish they would appreciate those things.
What's up, Reb? So, Dan, what's the move to get over the hump, or moves?
I think coaching's a big thing. Cowboys just never seem like they have the right elements. I thought we were really close a few years ago, because I thought they had a good offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, and Dan Quinn. Obviously, we miss him a little more now with what we've gone through. Never was a fan of McCarthy, so I think that's a little bit of an issue. But I feel like the Cowboys, if they get enough good coaches, both on each side of the ball, combine that with having a good roster, which I feel like that part, we'll get there. Obviously, we have some concerns defensively that the Cowboys need to rectify. But I feel like there's a good part to where they can get themselves there. But even still, what's it going to take? It's going to take the Cowboys to actually perform when it matters. And I feel like there's been so many opportunities over the last decade that they've been there, and they could have easily been one of the teams that advanced past the division round and possibly made a run for the Super Bowl. But for whatever reason, they didn't perform well in a game. Or you see like a ball bounce this way, or a DeMarco fumble here, or something. Little things happen. Or how did Jared Cook make that catch on the side? So all these things, I feel like the Cowboys, they just have to play a little better than their opponents, because I feel like they've been good enough at times. And if you have good coaching, which I think there's, they improved on the defensive side this offseason, you have good players, and I think they do for the most part. I feel like you have a good chance. But at the same time, January comes along, you got to have your players make the plays.
Mm. So, I want to definitely get into one of the things that you came out about, and you don't have a lot of company on this. You have us. You have us. But obviously, you said something that a lot of people are afraid to discuss, right? This is not popular to talk about. But you said why the Cowboys should give serious consideration to trading George Pickens for Maxx Crosby, right? So you start from the top turnbuckle. Why?
All right. Well, first off, I'm actually not going to climb on the top turn. So the thing is I really like George Pickens.
Okay.
And so we know what we have with Pickens. I mean, I feel like there is a range of outcomes where he could maybe falter a little bit, but I really feel good about what the Cowboys have there. So I really, when you have something good, I don't really necessarily want to move on from it. But I will say this, if you're looking about offensive resources, defensive resources, clearly we need more help on the defensive side. And if you ask me, if it's a one player swap, I'm taking Maxx Crosby over George Pickens. I mean, no offense to George Pickens, but yeah. I find him to be the better player. I don't even think we could get that deal because Maxx Crosby is the better player.
I agree.
But it certainly helps our a position that we have a dire need for. And also, too, I really feel like a lot of people that, and this is where I want your guys' input on, because this is not going to be a take that people, care for. But I feel like the people that are like the biggest advocates of Pickens, and the ones that are like, there's no way we can get rid of him, and are the ones that actually have the biggest worry about Dak Prescott. Because any educated fan should appreciate Dak Prescott. Good quarterback. He's not the problem. We should be happy going into battle with Dak Prescott. However, if you think you need to have, two $30 million receivers on here in order to make the engine go, I don't know. Then that might tell you something about Prescott. I think it's great to have both of them, but Prescott could get by with having CeeDee Lamb and another quality wide receiver too. It doesn't have to be a top 8 receiver so. To me, I feel like a lot of people are just like, they're so scared of all the Prescott criticism. They want to keep that. They want to keep Pickens so they don't have to deal with all the fallout of Dak's not performing when he's trying to make do with a receiver that's lesser caliber. So I kind of have that opinion, but going back to the original question, the Crosby thing, the only reason I wrote that is because I do think the Cowboys need to balance their resources, and clearly they're stronger on offense than on defense. And we only have so much draft capital and so many players we can add to where, if the Raiders were to offer that, I would take it. No offense. Like I said, I love George Pickens, but you have to think about what's better overall for the team, and I think that would be Crosby.
Before you, because I just want to explain this. A lot of people, there's a third side to this, and I think Dan might have a better insight to this. For the people said we can do both in terms of allocation to the cap, and I think we're having a hard time, I think, translating. As far as advanced numbers, because all people see is our contemporaries. They see, the teams like the Rams or the Eagles or teams that are getting further than us, and they're saying like, "Hey, they can do it. Why can't we?" Right. And what do you say to that?
Yeah. Well, first off, I say is first you need to take a close look at all the information, because I don't even think we should really use the Eagles as comparison, because unless you're just, the Eagles are the only team that has so much money tied up in void years. It's not like the Cowboys are the anomaly, and it's the Eagles that are the anomaly. They're the ones that are doing that. So I wouldn't even look at that. We know that how they operate. They take chances, and it's great when it works for them. But they got a lot of things they got to deal with, and so that's just a whole nother conversation. But if you look at the Rams and stuff, I want people to understand the Rams made some moves, and they deserve credit for their free agent moves and their trades and everything. But they also deserve credit for really good coaching. And if you look at why they're good now, look at the players they have on their team. It's the draft picks they've hit on. All these players like Puka, like where did he come from? And all the Rams are stacked with all these players that they've drafted well. So for a team that doesn't care about them picks, they've been doing really well with those picks. So, and same with if you look at Seattle too, there's a lot of things. People will remember the DeMarcus Lawrence signing and the Darnold signing that nobody was talking about at the beginning of the season. But you have to look at the incredible coaching staff that Seattle has. You have to look at how so many of their draft picks have really delivered. Their whole defense is just scattered with all these guys that are homegrown players. So I will say to them, look at everything and try to make sure that you're making your reactions and your judgments in the right place, because Cowboy fans will just get tied up with they'll just get misled. They'll think that this team did it, so obviously this is the formula, but they're totally missing the fact that all these other teams, like the Browns and the Saints and all these other teams that have completely went about things as well or as aggressively as Philadelphia or something, they're just falling flat on their face. And going back to Philadelphia too, Philly deserves credit as well. They've done some things with drafting, but also their coaching. And I really think that's what we'll see more of this year. And we saw a little bit last year is as they lose their good coaching, and they're lost quite a bit. And then all of a sudden people are wondering, why isn't Philly any good anymore? They got all these players, this abundance of payroll going around. Why aren't they good? And so because coaching matters. And so I just ask everyone to look at everything, and then make your decision. And I would think if they do, they'll find that aggressive spending and going out there and trading draft capital and free agent spending is not going to get you where you need to go. So that's my my ask to the fans out there.
You said something that for me, fighting in the streets and having debates, because right before we had this show, we just got out of a very intense debate, right, on Crosby and Pickens. It's an overwhelming majority of Cowboy fans that see it different than me and you, Dan, where I see it just like you, that Crosby is the better player. And it's a lot of fans don't see it that way. I think a lot of fans haven't looked, because me and Lou did a film breakdown on him, and when you turn on the tape, game one, we was watching him, Dan, and I thought I put it on sacks. I thought I put the drop down on sacks because he was always in the quarterback face, and I looked at it, I said, oh, I got the settings off. It's just rolling. He was disruptive, literally. Why do a lot of our fans see it different than us?
Well, I think part of it is obviously we've had a front row seat to Pickens this season, and he was remarkable. There's a stretch there where even the greatest Pickens advocates were like, "Whoa, okay." I wasn't expecting that to happen. Like he was snatching passes from receivers, and you could almost count on pass interference being called like on routinely because the defenders can't hang with them. So I mean, so we got a really good dose of how good this guy is, and he's absolutely great. His catch radius, the way his body control, the way he can he's just a ball hawk. He is a great receiver. But I think that people, and this goes back to my point earlier, they're so enamored by the offense and then how, what it can do for Dak, and that they tend to just maybe not look at the whole thing. And again, like with Crosby, I feel like I don't want to say like all the pro Pickens people are just, what are they thinking? Because I'm not going to say
good.
that. I mean,
he's super good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I will just say that, I mean, you guys are, I mean, we know that Crosby is disruptive and what kind of splash, playmaker he is. And I know that he's older, and then people will kind of worry about health and stuff. And that's fair. But I still think that it's just a player like Crosby who just helps us so much more. I mean, because he makes our cornerbacks better. He makes our safeties better. I mean, it's just it's just about allocating resources, and so that's where I think but I mean, it's almost, you have two All-Pro players.
Yes, right. Exactly. It's two great players.
Yeah, I just think we need more help defensively.
And I think that's what it comes down to.
I think people don't understand, and he's a floor raiser. And the best thing you can do for this defense is raise the floor. I think a lot of people are focused on the ceiling of the offense, and we're trying to at least raise the floor of this entire team. And you said it correctly, for one. Why for people who think we can do both, we really can't. Like, it's all about resource allocation.
That's right.
I think if we get both, I think we ruin the entire plan.
Yeah.
To even build everywhere else.
Right.
That's just me.
Yeah. Another thing too, people like talk about like I saw somebody mention like, people were saying we can keep Pickens and Micah before, and now all of a sudden we can't keep them. I think they forget the fact that we also have Quinn and Kenny Clark on the roster too. So the Cowboys don't have like an infinite supply of money, and if you know how the Cowboys operate, they're certainly not going to just borrow so much into the future years to accommodate it. So I really think you have to you have to pick. Okay, I mean, if you have to have both, this is what you're doing. It's an indictment on the coaching staff. It's like you guys are so bad at coaching that you just have to have all these stars on your team to be competitive. And come on, do your work, get the coaching fixed, let those guys do their job, and play with a good amount of talent. And so where you're not having to mask everything, because I'll tell you what, you get Crosby, you can go get McDuffie and whatever. If your coaching's bad, it's not going to matter. You know what you'll be? You'll be the most expensive laughing stock. That's what you'll be. So, you got to go about things the right way. And I just feel like, come on, pick your players that you want. Make some decisions and go with it. Don't feel like you got to be like the Dodgers and just have everybody, all the stars. It's
right.
Just
wow.
It doesn't work that way.
We got us some controversial super chats. Oh man, these super chats is so funny. So somebody said from the top turnbuckle, Crosby fixes nothing. Losing Pickens breaks everything. If the defense could have been 27 and we win 5 more games, draft defense early, sign defensive free agents. So I'll address that real quick.
Okay.
I'll address it because Dan got quiet. I think a lot of people kind of don't look at. We've been talking about this. We just debated this. Some players are force multipliers, right? And it's not even just their play; it's the presence. So if you go look at Maxx Crosby and you see the type of attention he garnishes, it's similar to Michael Parsons, to where the offense is just at a disadvantage even scheming for him. And that's, to me, what a lot of people don't see, is that having him on the field, and that's where Dan said he makes everybody better. It's a reason why when Michael was on the field, we ranked so high in terms of impact plays, and when he wasn't on the field, we was literally dead last, and that carried into this year, So it's one of those things to where what player, to my opinion, to answer your question, sir, what question moves up the floor? If you want one player that's going to raise everybody, it's a Crosby type, the type that garnishes a lot of attention, to answer your question.
Yeah, I'll also add, too, that this would be a different question if we didn't have CeeDee Lamb on the team, because it's not just about, who's better and how much, they can raise, but you don't want to saturate, if Pickens is great, but how much better is he with CeeDee Lamb than you would have if you, say you had Crosby, but you also had another wide receiver that you can package with CeeDee Lamb. So, I mean, I think overall you're going to get more from the team. And I don't know about you guys, but didn't you grow tired of the games early in the season when the Cowboys had the number one offense in the league and everyone's like, but we can't win because our defense is 32nd in points, and everyone's crying about that. It's like, yeah, you got a point. So we kind of need some help on defense. So, I mean, you can't have, you have both ways. You have to use your resources in a manner to where you can make the best balanced team. And I mean, it's no doubt the Cowboys, we need defensive help. So if they don't make a concerted effort to do something there, I mean, what are we going to do? We can maybe get to 10 wins in the early exit. I mean, what are we going to do if we can't stop the better offenses come playoff time? Or it's going to be a problem. So, we need to give defense serious attention. So, I don't know. I think that everyone probably feels that way, but nobody wants to think about parting ways with Pickens, and I understand that.
I do understand that. I got one more super chat. She say, swap the diva receiver for Crosby. She talking about CeeDee Lamb.
Terrible idea. Yeah, there's the discussions that took place earlier in the year when Pickens was just on fire, and everyone's like, maybe CDs. We don't need CD, or we're better. No, come on. But I will say this: when I talked earlier about saturation, I kind of felt like CD was like, do I have to do as much? I mean, look at this guy, and you saw a little bit. A little different demeanor with CD at times, and I don't think that you got the best version of CD because you didn't need the best version sometimes. So, but I'm not gonna. I mean, CD's a great player.
I would be open to trading CD for Crosby because of positional value. The positional value at edge is just so much higher than receiver, and plus because we have two. Now, I don't know if the numbers work out. I haven't looked at that. I don't know about the dead cap ramifications and all of that. So just throwing spitballing ideas, I would be open to it, but the numbers got to work. Speaking to the numbers, when I read your article, you raised. I've never considered this point. Can you elaborate on this?
What?
Like, because it was a list of questions that he was answering in terms of considering. Now, this part he super cooked on, cooked. Like he went all the way into the oven and he pulled it out. Like which player would cost more, and you kind of dug into the weeds of the value and of each one. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Do I need to make it bigger?
No, you can.
I can see. So, do you have a specific question about?
No, I just want you to elaborate on your thought on that. Just just to catch the fans up with that written part that you had in here about the cost and Pickens expected to receive a franchise tag. You went into that, but then you went into hold on real quick. You said this makes Crosby not only a cheaper but far less risk, and you was talking about. Let me just read it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, he cooked on that. He cooked. Like I never considered that. Never.
So
yes.
Let's just assume that both of these guys are risk factor, whatever, same level. But I mean, whatever. Just make that assumption. Just say whether Crosby's decline, health, I don't know, and then Pickens just trouble, I don't know. Let's just say the same risk factor. And it turns out that it's a bad, not a good deal. The Cowboys chose poorly. Well, right now with Crosby in the money that he's owed, the Cowboys don't have to. There's not guaranteed money that they have to pay. That's part of the deal. Like there's no like X amount of his salary is guaranteed for like so you can if Crosby turned out to be just a bad apple, there's no dead money. That's you can get out of it. Whereas if you just sign Pickens to a new deal, he's going to have guaranteed money, and he won't have an out until a couple of years at least, and you're stuck if Pickens decides that he's just a head case and not taking plays off and locker room issue and just like that was a bad deal. You're committed. I mean, with a new deal that you're going to give him, you're committed with him. Now, I'm not saying that that's likely to happen in either of those situations, but that is one thing is that the financial risk of Crosby is far less than what you have with the new deal for George Pickens.
Some people would say that if we did get Crosby, he would have to basically get a new deal because he wouldn't want to play with no guarantees. What would be your response?
I think that you're probably looking at, he would. I mean, what player does? I mean, in the Cowboys, they'll probably look at, you get some cap relief and get a new deal and just restructure it. He gets more guaranteed money. You get some cap relief. Maybe you get him for an extra year. I've seen that where you can kind of just get a bonus year out of it, and it's probably going to raise his overall cost too. Because Crosby, honestly, I think he could legitimately hold out and get more money because he's really underpaid for what this contract price is and what edge rushers are making. I think he's probably 10th. Around 10th. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I think that interests him, and I think the Cowboys, when they make a deal, they want to, sign him to get him inked for a little longer. Although I still what does he have 3 years on his deal or still? So I mean it's a pretty good contract already. But yeah, I mean there's way, and I think that's what's going to happen with Kenny Clark this offseason. I think the Cowboys will probably finesse some cap and give them some guaranteed money, and you get them a little, and both sides win. So I could see the same thing happening with if the Cowboys did something with Crosby, and they may do the same thing with Quinn and Williams too. So yeah, I mean that's a possibility too. I really don't think that there's anything that I would worry me about Crosby's contract. I feel like it's pretty team friendly trade friendly in that regard. So
yeah, we would just have to likely redo it if he came. We do have 2 super chats. So Mr. Marcus Goff said, so we're forgetting that what we had at wide receiver 2 before Pickens. We're forgetting the games the defense lost us with Parsons. And make no mistakes, Parsons is better. Better than who? Crosby?
So no, honestly, that's a good question, and I think that, and that's what kind of trips people up too, is because they start thinking about, look at Noah Brown or Deontay Thompson and Tavon, or they start to think of it like when the Cowboys totally wet the bed and did not have a viable wide receiver too, and we don't want to go in that situation. So I understand that, but I feel like there's a happy medium. It's not an either or. We don't have to have 2 $30 million guys or nobody at wide receiver.
Or Noah.
I remember. Yeah, I mean, I feel
or
like
Tolbert.
We've had success with Randall Cobb, and when Cooks was healthy, he was a good wide receiver too. I feel like there's a happy medium, and the Cowboys can find somebody that can help make the offense still be good. Without it having to be George Pickens. And as far as the Parsons comment, and that points to coaching, is like, yeah, even when you have a Micah Parsons, if you're out schemed, if the Shanahan defense is getting you and you're not ready and you're making missteps, and it doesn't matter. I mean, Micah Parsons can only do so much. So, but I don't think that's an indictment on like Parsons was not good enough. He was good enough. It's just the coaching. We weren't, the Cowboys weren't coaching well and weren't making plays that they needed to. So I feel like those are great things to consider, but just don't overreact to those things and assign blame to certain elements just because it didn't happen. Like we haven't won with Dak or we never won with Micah, doesn't mean these guys are not great players. So just again, like I keep pointing back to, is like let's take in all the information and not just roll with one thing.
And then I also want to address that too. This is different because a lot of people like to say, what happened to Micah in the playoffs? Micah didn't have Clark and Quentin Williams. Crosby would. So
he wanted to play with him.
It's a totally different front. So yeah, when you just had Micah as your premier run stopper, of course the way to take him out is to run right at him. That's his kryptonite. He's an undersized edge. So when you add, Quentin Williams and Clark with that type of guy, and let's be honest, I'm gonna definitely be honest on this. Crosby is a much better run stopper than Michael Parsons.
I was gonna say that.
Way better. like
now, I was gonna say that.
Nobody closes like Micah. Micah is the best closer probably ever. Like his closing speed crazy. But so like I ain't forgot anything. And then I think what a lot of people forgot is that our offense was number one before Pickens. That's what they forgot. They forgot that we was actually number one. You know what I'm saying? So, like people act like we just been in this super long drought for like 10 years without wide receiver 2. People they mostly hanging on to like the Noah Brown year, Tolbert year, and then say, I don't want to go back to that. Like he said, I think it's a happy medium. Now, I'm going to just say this, Dan. I think this will be one of the best solutions right here. What Dan proposed, but I would want us to go after a receiver at 12, and I think everybody would be happy with that, in my opinion. Once we got the weapon at 12. I think we should do what we wanted to do last year, where a lot of Cowboy fans wanted us to get the weapon at 12. I think we'll be just fine with that. I want to ask you another question and get off Pickens unless you had something else, Lou.
I was gonna say because the whole reason why I'm pushing this is because of cap allocation. It's a compound question. Where do you project if we do keep Pickens? Where do you project him to sign with as a number wise?
Good question.
And then the second question is the trend.
Good question.
The trend of us allocating this much, because the trend of not many receivers being paid in the top 5 like this, because of when I was doing research, is because of allocating 55% of the cap to your quarterback and 2 receivers, which is very dangerous.
Yeah. So this is what I think is going to happen. They're going to tag him, and they're going to use that to some degree of leverage because that's to get him for a cheaper price. But if they extend him, which I expect that to happen, my prediction is that he actually gets $34 million a year. I think it's going to get what CeeDee gets, and I think it's going to come across as looking like, hey, we got 2 alphas, And quite honestly, he's really cheaper than CeeDee. And the reason I say that is because he's getting $34 million now versus CeeDee a couple years ago. So I mean, if you look at it, he's actually
a much better deal,
a better deal than what Lamb is. But then I think if he come across like, hey, they're both getting the same, so there's harmony. There's no one has to worry about who's getting paid more than who. But even still, that's a lot of money, and
that would be a super deal. If we got Pickens for 34. I don't think a lot of fans would know how good that is.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
I thought he was, honestly, Dan, I can tell you my number, and you can tell me I'm crazy. I thought it was going to be at least like 41. Because I was taking account of
David.
Yeah, that's the main thing, the tax.
David go try to push it up.
In his history.
No, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, because I think that, first off, George Pickens should not be the highest paid receiver in the league. I mean, he shouldn't be making more than Chase and Jefferson, in my opinion. And so I know, what was it? Smith Najigba, he's got a case for it. That's different. He can be pushing 40, but I don't believe Pickens is in that tier personally. So I feel like when you're starting to flirt with 40, I think that's too much. I don't think they'll be asking for that. Honestly, I mean, I don't think that Pickens deserves to be somewhere in that vicinity of top 8, 12 type receiver, not top 5 receiver. That's how I feel. So, I mean, obviously the agents will make a different case.
Yeah, they gonna make a
I
way
would be
different case.
shocked if- I'll tell you what, if he's asking for 40, he's playing under the franchise tag is what's going to happen.
For sure.
Jerry is not going to be paying.
For sure, man. Like, absolutely. Hey, let me read this super chat.
No, that's real. Yeah.
It did, because I want to talk about the non-exclusive as an option. Dan, you talking cheap. I think she meant cheap. Maybe I heard you wrong. Help me out. How much would hit the cap approximately to acquire Crosby? He's not cheap either, is what she's saying. And she's probably assuming a new contract, not the right. One
he's currently on.
So I think he's averaging right now 29 or I don't remember what his contract is. I think if they were to sign him to a new deal, his average annual salary would increase. His first year cap hit would drop, and I figure probably you're looking at 4-year deal. I don't know, signing bonus. The signing bonus, the prorated signing bonus will be a little bit. So you're probably talking 12 million maybe ish for year one, maybe less than that. But then of course it's going to get pricier as the contract progresses.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what you're looking at with Crosby. That I don't know. Honestly, I just don't really think Crosby is in the cards. I think
it's a dream.
They're gonna want more than what Cowboy fans think they can get him for. And, so
that's what people don't understand. Yes.
So I haven't put too much thought. I know when everyone's talking about it, I like to look at everything from all angles. So through it, I wanted at least for all the people that were saying, no way, I wouldn't do it. It's like, no, I think Crosby's the better deal. If we're looking at if you have an opportunity, that's the direction you'd want to go. And that's really all the point is. I mean, as far as it come into fruition, not really.
Nah, it's a long shot. It's a very long. And see, but and I've intentionally been trying to keep the ideal out there because it's such a long shot, Dan. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna lie, I've been, on purpose keeping the conversation going.
Why would you do that? There's an instigator.
Hey, I want the better player, and me and you see it the same, where I want to shift resources to the defense. And I think with the plan that Dan has, you still have pick 12, where you have 5 years worth of rights on a receiver. I just think that will be a win-win. And I don't think you can even have the conversation about Crosby unless you're willing to sacrifice one of your ones. You're not going to be in play, not in my opinion. You got to be willing to do it to have a chance at Crosby. And that's what that's what's been tripping me out is it's a lot of Cowboy fans that act like Pickens has more value. And it's like, no, sir, no. Like, there's a long precedent of edges commanding way more resources, premier edges. Is because of the value, the value of the position and the chaos that they cause. I just think people see it different. See the game different. So
yeah,
I mean, you can do the math and figure out what's the most expensive position, and do, I mean, trust the money. So that pretty much the money doesn't lie. So you can, I mean, it's pretty obvious then if you're going to compare it. So
that's exactly what I said. So it's like we didn't make the rules. We just play by them. Mm-hmm. We didn't make the rules. The rules say by the money that edge is way more valuable. We didn't make the rules. We just playing by the rules. And it's almost like a lot of Cowboy fans, in my opinion, looking at this like it's different rules. And it's like, no, the rules are still the same. Edge is still a way more valuable position. It did not change because it's Pickens. We got 2 super chats. Let me get to them real quick. Then I want to go outside the box and ask you about doing a non-exclusive tag and get your opinion on that. First super chat came from Queen. She said, you have to go off of his whole body of work. And she was talking about Pickens in terms of value. And
I don't think his years in Steelers is not that bad. I would say that, and if I was, I'm not even saying I'm Nate David. I wouldn't. It wouldn't be out of this world for David to not. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, David,
twist that.
He's
gonna twist it. He's gonna twist that.
Yes.
You know, like I think people are just looking at it from one way because they can easily. That's why I'm in that range because I know this agent because he can easily say like, hey, he was leading that room with absolutely no quarterback, still producing and showing that he was a low end number one. When he came to Dallas, everything was validated. So he has the one thing that's going for him, which is projection. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me.
And then from my research, Lou, they don't just talk about production. It's a business conversation as well. It's it's about how many ads are you getting, how many eyes are on the Cowboys because of Pickens, what's the jersey sales like, to where from an investment standpoint, he's a better return on investment business-wise than JSN, but JSN has a better, career resume. So JSN career-wise go command more, but business-wise, Pickens, could say, hey, I'm worth more, in terms of what I bring back to y'all return on investment-wise. When you look at all business resources and how it feeds into Pickens in Dallas and the talks and the conversations and the publicity and all the real money talks. So we got us another big super chat. Rebel said, let me pull it up this way that I can read the whole thing. And then we go get you out of there, Dan. Thank you for making time for us. We almost tried to talk about this last week. He was under the weather, but we almost finished. I'm gonna ask you a few more questions. We're gonna let you out of here. Rebel said, let me play devil's advocate with you, Boston Lou. Oh, this said us. She said, y'all want to get rid of Pickens after 1 year. Maybe it would have been smarter to draft a wide receiver last year instead of Booker, and this wouldn't be a discussion. Poor team weapons. It wouldn't have been a discussion. It wouldn't have been a discussion.
I would say because who was you talking to? DMV said it perfectly. Like, actually, I think we did the right thing. We have the reason why we push this because we can finally get some positive ROI. Think about it. We paid a third rounder for him and got this production. If we flip him for a second, like he was saying, that's a positive ROI. So what we're doing right now, the position we're in is better than what us taking the receiver last year. Because you fortified your front and you got a passive investment in terms of ROI.
And then you got a better receiver for at least 1 year with Pickens. So you proved your team than drafting Matthew Golden, whoever else you would have reached for last year. So did you have anything on that, Dan?
I would just say that since I've scouted receivers, I have found that it's not an exact science, and it's sometimes you miss. And I was a big Golden fan last year, and honestly, too, I'll admit it too, I was not a fan of Tet, and clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. I think now if the Cowboys would have taken Golden instead of Booker, I would be so upset now. But I'd love the idea of him last year. So here's the thing: the Cowboys, they know what they're doing. I mean, they got, especially when it comes to offensive linemen, they're pretty good at evaluating talent in that regard. So I'm not even looking back on that. I think they did a great job with the fact that they didn't get a receiver and turned around and turned a third-round pick of this year into George Pickens, and I think that's fantastic. So you know what? You go in there, you're going to take your best player that's on your board. You're not going to reach for a certain position of need, and then when you don't come away with what you're looking for, you make other plans, and that's what they did. And we have to be happy with how they handled that.
So I'm not going to ask you on an exclusive tag. I felt like we spent so much time on Pickens and Crosby. You know, it can get to overkill. Let me switch to another topic real quick, and then it's my last question.
Oh yeah.
Williams sign. Is that enough?
When you say is that enough, what is
okay,
what?
Let me be more specific in the question. Does that room need more?
I would like for it to have more because I really was disappointed with what we saw from Blue. As excited as I was when we drafted him. I don't know why I got excited, 5th round running back, and I'm just like, oh, he's going to be the lightning to J Dub's thunder, and it's like, but of course he's a rookie, and then and that's what happens sometimes. So I will say this though, had Miles Sanders not gotten hurt, I feel like the Cowboys would have had a great tandem at running back, and I wasn't big on Miles Sanders, but they seem to know what they were doing, and so to me, I would like to see another young back, especially a fresh leg back in there. Sadly, we don't have the draft capital to do it. We got no day 2 picks. I don't want to spend pick 112 on a running back. I mean, maybe, but I still would like to possibly fill a defensive spot there. So I really feel like this draft doesn't provide us an avenue to get a running back, which kind of made the Williams signing important.
Yeah,
that they come away with that. So I'm gonna have high hopes that Blue has a good year 2. Maybe turns the corner. I liked how he was playing in the finale. I mean, so I could see a range of outcomes where Williams and Blue are a nice combo. And then they still got Maffa, and who knows if they don't throw another late round dart at a running back or get another Rico undrafted free agent. They can come in there and compete with Malik Davis or something. So I mean, there's possibilities. So I'm certainly not going to spend any more money on free agent running back. So that's done with.
You would do free agency? Cause didn't you just say Rico? You wouldn't touch free agency?
No, I don't think you can when you're giving Javonte the money you're giving him. I don't think you can double dip there. I feel like you've made your decisions, and I mean I don't know if you can get Tyler Algier for $2 million.
Right.
I'll be all over that if that's possible. But I feel like you're limited on what you could do there. I feel like now you just gonna have to look for cheaper resources.
Yeah. And see, they throwing out some good stuff. So my boy Henny, what's going on, my brother? Somebody said get Junkins off the Browns. That would be a fit. That would be a fit.
If we can,
Junkins gonna be expensive.
Yeah, we gonna have to look at the Chubbs and them. I would be open for that though.
I like Ford maybe.
Ford, 2 years. When's we'll talk about that. I don't want to get.
Wait, 2 years. Like
when's the last time Ford played? Which Ford you talking about?
Jerome, right?
You talking about from Texas?
From the Browns.
He played a little bit last year.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to do.
He was quiet because obviously Judkins did all the heavy lifting. So.
Okay, cool. But Dan, I do want to say this with blocking in the balls. We do have a tradition here to where we say our final words. But before we get our final words, I want to talk about blocking in the balls. It is no other writing video group that has appeared on this particular channel more than blocking in the balls. So we've had David Howman. We've had, obviously, now Dan Rogers twice. We've had RJ Ochoa now 2 to 3 times. I just want to first say thank y'all, for being open to kind of just keep good conversations going, good debates going, and also just sharing, yourselves to the community, and quickly. Like usually if I reach out to you, y'all never take long to respond. So I just want to say thank you guys for being leaders in the community in terms of voices, idea voices, and advocates for what's the best ways to win Super Bowl. Now, another thing I would say too, just is I see sometimes that y'all see things differently. I like that you and RJ are not exactly on this same page, but yet y'all still are strong about what you believe. So I just want to say that, about blocking in the balls. It's a great appreciation from Boss Cowboy Sports to blocking in the balls and all of you guys over there. I just want to say that. So as a tradition, we do something called final words. And so I'm going to give my final words. We're going to go around. We're going to give all our final words and we're going to get up out of here.
Hold on. I got one more $5 from Lando. He said the positional market value usually evolves slower than the game itself. The money tells an incomplete story. What do you say about that?
No, I'll take that one. No, because it's too long. Like, see, running back, I see what you're saying, because running back cycled. You could see where running backs 4 years ago was way undervalued. Now they have returned back market wise to reasonable rates. So there's a cyclical, but edge, no. Edge, tackle, and quarterback, since there have been money allocated to them, have always been the most valuable positions ever since it was leather helmets. So no, like, he's right. Dan is right. Follow the money. The money tells you what the value is, and the value is edge. We not gonna rewrite the rules because we like Pickens. Well, I'm not. So
that's it. Yeah.
Anyway, so my final words. Is, listen, y'all. This is, I can't wait till we move that past this. Dan is right. This is a very long shot. This conversation makes a lot of people nervous. But literally, is likely only one person that Dan would consider for a trade, and only one person I consider for a trade, and that's Crosby. And it's gonna have to take a lot of moving pieces for this to work, y'all. This is not cut and dry. This is just pretty much, I'm being honest, me being greedy and lobbying for what I believe makes us better. So I intentionally try to find ways to keep the conversation going. I'm hoping that somebody on the inside, the front office, some kind of way, kind of get a clue of this conversation, and then it actually catch fire. But other than that, y'all, to be all the way honest with you, it's a more likely chance that we go really try to put all our eggs into getting Pickens, So, my final words is, be at least willing to have tough discussions. This is a tough discussion because, like Dan said, you saw it with your own eyes, the value and the greatness and the awesomeness and the dog of Pickens. But I would also then say, go look around too. I'm certain a lot of people have never really looked at Crosby, because if you just take a honest look, you gonna see more value as a player than even Pickens, which is saying a lot. And you seeing a better player in a more valuable position. So listen, we're not trying to make y'all nervous, but we willing to have the discussions that some people not. That's my final word.
I can go next. Salute to everybody in the building. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Blogging the Boys. This offseason is, it's all about putting together, realistic, good ideas. And I felt like, best in my heart, that what's best for the Dallas Cowboys is reallocating the resources to the defense after having one of the most historic, seasons. I really like the Christian Parker hire, and I really love the offensive hires we did last year. And I know a lot of people want to say the coaching, but the one thing that they also did with the offense, and I think people are overlooking, is that with the great coaching, with the resources they put into the coaching in certain areas, like offensive line was horrible in the final year under Mike McCarthy. They hired Clayton Adams and Connor Riley. They also took Booker. You know what I'm saying? They allocated great high resources to those positions of need, and it turned the group around, honestly. So I just trying to do that and replicate that same idea for the defense, whether it be the back end or a floor raiser, a force multiplier, and Maxx Crosby. And I feel like that can greatly help our defense. It's not one player, but I'm talking about as a culmination of moves. If you have him, I think you're at a much better spot. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate Cowboy Nation, hearing us out. I know it's a radical idea. I know it's it's the path that's not chosen, but hey, I'm gonna choose it every time for my Cowboys.
Every time. Your final words, Dan.
Well, first off, thanks for the kind words. From Blogging the Boys, and I know there's a lot of hardworking people over there that we try to make sure we got content coming out all the time, and it's going to be eventful off season. But I also wanted to play it right back at you guys too, because you fuel a lot of conversations that get the juices flowing and get the ideas going. And without that, and without having these discussions and stuff, I mean, we're all just be talking about the same things, and I just don't like that at all. I like new angles, and just trying to cover everything the best we can. And a lot of credit goes out to you guys and the people out there, all the hard work with just bringing out these Cowboys conversations. But so my final word, I just want to say this too. I think that having these discussions is great, and we should continue. And I do want to, give you an assignment or give you an objective. And I feel like Cowboy fans, they owe it to themselves to, first off, let's be genuine about the things we're saying. Let's not get a little crazy with some of and go off on and have these angles where we're just talking about things that are just telling the wrong story. Let's try not to do that. Let's at least keep things grounded and so we're providing useful information and useful discussions. So I think that's very important. And the other thing I'll say is, I think you should pick a side. And when I say that, if you think the front office is terrible, and you then support the coach, then you think the coaching is keeping things together, then take that side and be that person and don't be bouncing around and just get excited about the front office until we start losing, and then suddenly Jerry can't win 30 years. It's pick a side and just. That's not to say that you have to, be married to it. You can evolve and change your opinion and stuff. But I mean, let's take the emotion out of it and actually take a stand on what you believe in and what you think the Cowboys' problems are, and go with that and stop bouncing around and wavering. Because I'll tell you what, when things don't go well, it's easy to just want to point fingers and deflect and stuff. But when you do that, then you're not being true to yourself, and you're not really having a good understanding of your football team. So just try to be sincere in the direction you go. That's my advice to anybody out there that I'm having discussions with, because without it, we're just all rambling around and what are we even talking about? So, but I really appreciate the opportunity to hang with you guys. Anytime you guys want to talk, you know how to get a hold of me.
We'll do some draft work once the season comes. Our contactors we did, and we got a lot of work to do. And like I said, the relationship with Blocking the Ball has been great. So that is Dan Rogers. Another episode with Lou Takes, and both show me into the next live, into the next video, into the next dope discussion that we're going to get into to try to win 6. We're out. Oh man, wait. I forgot something. You know what I forgot? I forgot
your ad.
Yep, I forgot to read my ad. Oh, Lord, I gotta pay the bills. Wait. Got so caught up talking about this interview, excited. Go for a Hail Mary your sleeper picks and win up to 100 times your money. Use promo code BCS and Sleeper will 100% match your first deposit up to $100 instantly. We out this time. We really out this time. Y'all take it easy, man. Much love. Man, get it together, boss. Stop it.